Yo, 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 what's poppin'? How everybody doing, fam? This is Chris right here for another episode of the Chris and Chris podcast show. Hey, look, man, I hope you guys enjoyed time with family last weekend. I don't celebrate the holidays, but I got some plates. I can say that much. I got some plates to come over. I told them plates up for real. Yeah, y'all already know how we do it on Thanksgiving, man. You feel me? How they do it. I'm just saying, I ate. I didn't celebrate, but I ate. Look, guys, thank y'all for joining me again for another Chris and Chris podcast show episode. Guys, this is a great one right here. Something to have you thinking, because there's so much rhetoric going on. So many people throwing each other up under the bus. And I mean our people throwing our people up under the bus for things that they're revealing, things that they're saying as if people supposed to stay asleep all their lives. People are waking up and they're not afraid to speak out. But before I go in this video right here, guys, do me a favor, like always, man. Like this video right here, because it's going to be a great one right here. And do me a favor, do not be afraid to comment on the videos, guys. I want to see what you think about it. It helps me to know what you guys thinking about. That way we can engage, have some great conversation on the topic at hand. Because, man, they acting the damn fool. For real. And it's like as if we can't, meaning us, our skin tone. It's like as if we cannot wake up and talk about what's going on. It's like when we do that, it's a problem. You feel me? It's cool when they do it. It's a problem when I do it. Hey, that could be applied to everything. You feel me? It could be applied to everything. But back to this video right here, guys. Again, man, I thank y'all so much for supporting the Chris and Chris podcast show, for watching me on Apple Podcasts. For listening on Apple Podcasts, watching us on YouTube, listening to on Spotify, Anchor FM, Stitcher, a host of other podcast platforms. Also, Google Podcasts, guys. You guys can hit us up. We're on Google Podcasts. I just want to thank y'all so much, man, for continuing supporting the show. But did you know that we got hacked? Yes, somebody hacked the page, deleted all my videos. So right now, I'm back up to making content to get everything back up to normal standard. But I need you guys' help. I need you guys to subscribe to the channel, man. Watch these videos so we can get the watch hours up to 4,000 watch hours times far as from that. And man, you guys share this right here so the algorithm can go up. But listen, without no further ado, I got this white guy on here, man, and he's talking, he's letting you guys know, he's revealing things to where when it's someone like us, when we do it, we're deemed as conspiracy theories, we're deemed as anti-Semitic, we're deemed as a whole lot of names that they will call in order to get you guys to not pay attention to the truths that's being told to y'all. So they've come up with all these different names, but it's cool when they do it. It's a problem when I do it. I got this white guy on here speaking the same thing Kanye West has been saying about control and how they don't give a damn about us and how we're just being used. However, when this type of language is being spoke on podcasts and it's someone of my hue, color, when it's someone of this beautiful black skin color, people lose their mind. And when I mean people, I mean the powers that be and people that's of my skin complexion. It's as if we're supposed to stay in our place. And if we happen to yawn too hard and wake up, and today it's not as blurry as was as yesterday, and we wipe our eyes and actually see the matrix that's being played on us, it's people that's my skin complexion get more upset as if we're poking a bear. Well, we're going to poke the hell out of them. And in this video right here, we're about to wake his ass up. Check this out right here.
History of America is the history of rich white men telling not rich white people that their enemies are black and brown. It starts in the colonies of what would become the United States. Let's remember, during the colonial period, mid-1600s, there was no such thing as white people. I know some people who are now called white find that shocking, right? Because they think whiteness is real. But whiteness was created. Europeans didn't call themselves white. We didn't call ourselves white. We weren't all members of one big happy family. Are you kidding? Have you studied the history of Europe? The history of Europe was about killing each other. That's what we did in Europe. We just killed each other before we figured out there were other people to kill. We just killed each other, right? I mean, that was the history of Europe. The English hated the Irish, right? Northern Italians didn't even think that Southern Italians were Italians. The Germans hated everybody, and everybody hated their ass right back, right? There was no team called white, no race called white, but all of a sudden, in the middle of the 1600s, there was. Why? Why was it suddenly necessary to create this thing called the white race? Well, because rich people can count, that's why. And so rich folks looked around, the ones that owned all the land, you know, in the colonies, the colonial elite looked around and they realized something, that they were heavily outnumbered by African enslaved folks, by European indentured servants who were just one level above a slave, or other Europeans who weren't technically indentured servants, but they were still peasants, didn't have any money, didn't have any land, and they could do the math. They added it up and they were like, damn, we got to figure out a way to split these folks apart from one another or they're going to rise up and take our stuff, right? Because after a while, these black folks who were enslaved Africans and these quote-unquote white folks who were poor Europeans are going to figure out they're all getting played by these rich people, right? So ultimately, the rich figure out they got to come up with some way to get somebody in that group on their team. The easiest thing is to get the poor Europeans, right? Because at least they look like you. They sort of share some of the customs and the culture. So they all of a sudden create this thing called whiteness, and they say, now you're part of the club. Now we're going to let you testify in court, enter into contracts, vote, at least if you're a man, own a little bit of land, at least if you're a man, right? And we're going to get rid of indentured servitude. No more of that, because you're too good for that. And we're going to take the white men, now called white men, and put them on the slave patrol to keep black people in line. Give them a horse and a gun and a badge and make them feel big and powerful, right? They're still poor. They still don't have anything. They didn't pay the slave patrol well, right? Just exploited them, used them as a buffer between the elite and the other poor folks, particularly poor folks of color. And pretty soon the rebellions that occasionally happened where black and white got together to overthrow the elite, those stopped because the divide and conquer had begun to work, right? You could turn people against each other by telling those poor white folks they got to keep these black people in line. And so that divide and conquer gets initiated in the colonies. Rich white men telling not rich white people that their enemies are black and brown.
That didn't hurt so bad, did it? Did it hurt so bad? You're still living, you're still breathing, you're not bludgeoned off that truth right there. And I felt you guys probably diagnose it a little bit better when you got a different complexion, speaking the same thing, because it's sad to where when you're speaking to your people, they don't hear you. But as soon as one of them starts speaking and saying the same thing, you guys are like, I mean, the antenna goes all the way up and you guys catching all the frequency. There's no static, none of that. And you clearly hear him tell you guys, man, that they don't give a damn. And so we put Kanye West. Kanye West's face was used because a lot of us attacked that brother. I mean, quick to attack that brother. And I'm going to tell you the way I look at that situation. And I'm speaking to the critical thinkers, those that have been watching the Chris and Chris podcast show. Guys, I'm speaking to y'all, right? I'm speaking to y'all. Y'all my family. It's like that slave that's been on the plantation so long. And yet one of the slaves have came up with a plan to escape. And saying, hey, I know that I'm going to lose everything. I'm not going, I may have to leave my family behind, but I'm coming back and get them. And you got that one slave that's mad at you because you thought of a way to escape. And not just only escape for yourself, but to make it easier for them to leave the plantation too as well. But yet you got that one slave, that Uncle Ruckus slave, that one slave to where he's so... I mean, the Stockholm syndrome is so deeply embedded in him, like it runs through his blood, to where he gets mad at you, he want to fight you, I mean, talking bad about you, all because of your decision to want to leave the plantation. That's the way that I look at people attacking Kanye West and attacking Kyrie Irving. Because see, whether you understand or not, that's why you got some people in the first grade, you got some people in the 12th grade. And I don't mean in education, I mean mentally. And it's sad to say it, people. Look, they ran a number on us. And a lot of us is not going to wake up. And a lot of these, people like Papa Duck, a lot of these other podcasters, that's speaking on the truth. That's we want to let our people know because we care, we love y'all, man. But some of y'all not just going to get it. And ain't nothing we can do about it. Ain't nothing we can do about it, man. Some of y'all just going to fall by the wayside. But one thing about it, we're not going to stop pumping these truths out. I'm not going to stop. And I'm sure the other podcasters that's doing their thing are not going to stop, guys. We got to continue pumping this message, pushing this message, especially if you are black media. Man, let's get the word out. Let's get the truth out. You feel me? And whoever we got to use that's on our side, that's allying with us, that's speaking our truth, let's share. Guys, like this video right here. Make sure you press the notification bell. That way you guys can get notified whenever I'm dropping great content like this right here, guys. And again, man, stay woke out here, okay? Guys, thank y'all so much for watching the Chris and Chris podcast show, guys. Again, I'm out. Thank y'all so much. One.
Make sure you subscribe to the Chris and Chris podcast show on YouTube. Also listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Castbox, and a host of other podcast platforms.